Hey guys, it's Omrecker with Voodoo Extreme, and I'm just gonna go over some of the B-roll footage that we had access to for our preview. In this clip here, it's just one example of some of the cinematics that will play while you're playing through the campaign. The tutorial that we saw had two, and they were very well done. But I'm gonna go ahead and let this play without talking over it, just so you guys can enjoy it.
Although I greet death, I do not fear the icy grip. My soul, at peace, sleeps.
It's hardcore. So when you're on the campaign map, you'll see it's very similar to what we've seen in the games like Empire and Napoleon, where there's strategic resources, there's ports, trade routes. You can use your ships to manipulate those or to set up new trade routes. And when it comes to using your actual armies, it's very much the same. Navigating about, each turn you have so much distance that you can travel. Unfortunately, you can't see the rice paper fog of war type effect, but it is very cool, as I mentioned. When you choose to engage an enemy army, you'll see here Sega goes and does an auto-resolve, which you can speed through this little animation here, but in this situation, this is what I would usually do because their army was so small. So he obviously got smoked. There weren't really any major losses for the green side. But it looks like he leveled up, which is another cool part of this game, obviously, that seems that there's more of an emphasis. You'll see as this ninja goes and attempts an assassination, Sega obviously skipped the video that went along with it, but he survived. He gets away. There's a little smoke cloud. But in doing that mission, he also leveled up. So you'll see a little glimpse of the ninja upgrade tree in a second here. And each tree, it's almost like an RPG upgrade path. But you can tailor your units to fit your playstyle. It's actually very cool. They do become much more valuable. It reminds me of some of the better Total War games, actually, just because you'll really start to value these guys. But the flickering that you saw there, just keep in mind this is a pre-release build. So here's a quick little glimpse of the diplomacy window. This is the overview. They don't really go into the more detailed side of diplomacy, though, unfortunately. And then moving along, when you're looking at the actual land side of things, land combat, when you deploy your armies, obviously this is just a walking army at the moment, but it shows off a bit of the scale before you actually get into combat. That when you create a unit, it can be as many as 150 men, and when you add it up with up to 20 units in an army, it's a lot of individuals on the battlefield. It's very cool. So here we're going to see some combat footage finally, and obviously there's rifles involved at this point. I didn't personally get to play with them at all, since the tutorial seems to be kind of early period Japan, but they seem to be pretty powerful. I would guess though that they're counterable obviously by cavalry, just like anything else. And for some reason this guy sent in his general, as mentioned there, and he died. Good stuff. So when you get really close, you can see that the animations are good. The units on opposing sides interact with each other very well. And like here's a cavalry charge where they plow into a bunch of riflemen, or I forget the exact term, but since I wasn't able to play with them, I'm not exactly sure. But they seem to suffer kind of the same fates as archers when they get plowed into by horses. In this other clip, there's a cavalry flank onto the enemy generals, or the general bodyguards even. They wear these big puffy things on their back. I'm not sure if it's to protect against arrows or to provide, some sort of shelter when they camp. But here's a very good example of how epic things can get. I mean, you've got soldiers everywhere, coming in from the rivers, and it's just chaos, complete chaos. And the very cool thing is that, as all these units die, their bodies stay on the ground, so when battle actually ends, you can scroll around and just see all the carnage. It's really crazy to see. I think it's safe to say that the green banner side is winning this one. There's those generals again. So when you actually siege any sort of city that has a castle, the defending side, they've got these little ported, type slits in the short walls, and through those they obviously have an advantage firing down onto the enemies. But you don't have to rely entirely on pushing gates in Shogun 2. You'll see here that the units are completely capable of just scaling walls, and that's what they'll do. They'll climb up them. But there are gates scattered about. If you scale walls, obviously you kind of set yourself up in, where you're kind of choked, and you can only get as many units in as the enemy will allow if they're crushing up against you. So typically they kind of have a little bit of an advantage there. But gates are the same way. If you punch through a gate, they will push on you like it's a choke. So when it comes to warfare on the water, you'll see here that it's a bit different than in Napoleon or Empire, where typically you're near land masses, whether it's small islands or it's actually Japan, and depending on the seasons, now that there's 4, you're going to run into different types of weather conditions. Obviously here it's a foggy type scenario. It might be fall or spring, who knows. But the attention to detail on the ships is amazing. You'll see with some of these passes on the ships that, it's highly detailed, and once they pan over a little bit more, you'll see all these little archers inside ships. They have their rowers, but they also have their archers. So instead of cannons, you've got archers who on some ships can fire arrows, others just that they have numbers or a height advantage where they can fire down. But these big ships typically, they're a bit slower. They don't maneuver as well, but they have more numbers, more protection, and also they're very good when it comes to boarding or even pushing a ship, as you're seeing here. This little guy is kind of screwed. Although it does look like everyone's dead on this large ship, and it's getting hit with fire bombs of some sort. But the combat is still very exciting. The visuals are excellent, just like on land. And it's a very exciting experience. So I don't see myself skipping many of these in the game, just like I probably won't be skipping many land battles. You can also capture ships by boarding them. As you'll see here, there's a little bit of melee combat going on, and that's supposedly going to be one of the ways you can actually get access to European galleons on the seaside, is by capturing them from the Europeans. But overall, it's an excellent title. I had a great time with the preview, and thanks for watching, guys.